Very good afternoon, students. In this video, I am going to tell you which are the important questions which an examiner can ask when he is asking you the base of the skull which is seen from outside. What is called as norma, basalis, externa. The base of the skull is not easy. It is little difficult, so I may take a little more time in this video. Now, these are the two diagrams seen for the base of the skull. One is showing the bone forming this base of the skull as seen from outside, and then another diagram is showing the same, but here the different bones which are taking part in formation of it, they are given the different color, so it becomes easy for identification and extent to judge the extent of this bone. Okay. Now, if you see this base of the skull, usually we divide it into the base into three parts. Okay, just for ease of the understanding and learning, that is the two imaginary line. The first imaginary line passes from the posterior border of this hard palate. This is hard palate, that is the part of the bone which is forming, present between the alveolar arch and the upper teeth. Okay, this part, this is the posterior margin of the hard palate. The first line passes along with this, and second line passes along the anterior margin of foramina magnum. This magnum, the largest foramina of the body, is the foramina magnum. Thus, these two lines, they divide the base of the skull as seen from external surface into anterior, middle and posterior part. And briefly we will see what are the bones and what are the suture, what are the foraminas which are present in this area, because all the foraminas through which the cranial nerves, the 12 pairs of cranial nerve, 12 from right side and 12 from left side, they will come out from the base. Okay. So, let us see the anteriormost part of this norma, basalis, externa. You can see that most prominent feature on this is the alveolar process. So, we can ask you, what are the alveolar process? Which are the maxillary alveolar process? You can say that these are the lower border of the maxilla, okay, right and left maxillae which joins at midline, and this suture is extending in the also in this surface, okay, basal surface. This is intermaxillary suture or suture between the two palatal process of maxilla. This self-like projection from right and left maxilla, they meet each other in midline. That is intermaxillary suture or interpalatine suture is there in the midline, and this is the alveolar process of maxilla which bears the teeth. Okay, and the alveolar process, they are spongy bone. Okay, spongy, just posterior to the this palatine bone. Okay, and this is the horizontal plate of the palatine bone. You can see there is a suture because there is another bone. You can see here in the color diagram. This part which was in violet part here, dark violet, this is the maxilla which is also articulating on side as seen from the basal part with the part of the zygomatic bone which is seen in the blue color. Now, this bone which is articulating with the palatal process here, in the palatal suture is there in between. This in the pink color, it is the horizontal plate of the palatine bone. This is called as because there is inside, there is another plate is there, what is called as perpendicular. This plate is horizontally, right and left plate, they come and meet in the palatal suture here. So, these two bones, they form what is called as the hard palate. Then there are the foramina seen. So, the question can be there, what are the foramina seen in the anterior part of the base of the skull in relation to the palate? Then you can see the large foramina which are here seen where I am moving the pointer. See the large foramina which you will trace anteriorly will continue in a groove. Okay, there is a groove here anteriorly going towards the incisive fossa. This is incisive fossa where it is between the two central incisor, okay, posteriorly. This fossa will give passage to that of the nerves and vessel. Similarly, these foramina which are here, they are called as greater palatine foramina. Then there will be, not shown in this diagram, there will be the lesser palatine foramina, which are posterolateral to this greater palatine foramina, and they will give passage to the lesser palatine nerves and vessels. So these are the parts which are of importance in the anterior part. Let us come to the middle part of the norma basalis externa, and middle part is posteriorly limited by an imaginary line joining through that of the anterior margin of the foramina magnum. You can see this color of the bone which is extending from this end to that of the this end. That means it is present on right side as well as on to the left side. This whole bone is a single bone and it is called as the sphenoid bone. Okay, in the middle there will be the body of the sphenoid, which is not clearly seen on the basal part, but when we will see it from inner aspect, okay, internal surface of the base, there it will be visible. Here this is masked by this green color bone here, which is called as the vomer bone, which is applied on the under surface of the body of the sphenoid. Then you are seeing these two plates here, okay, just lateral to the vomer bone you are seeing two plates which are the part of the sphenoid bone, and these two plates, they are called as the lateral and medial plates. Okay, these are the lateral and medial pterygoid plate. This is the lateral pterygoid plate and this is medial of this side, and this is the medial and lateral pterygoid plate of this side. Then still lateral to this medial and lateral pterygoid plate, this is the area of the bone which is forming the floor of the brain box here, and this is the greater wing of the sphenoid. So again the part of the sphenoid bone, and posteriorly here in the greater wing of the sphenoid we are seeing two foramina. One is large where my pointer is there, and this is called as foramina ovale. Another foramina just posterolateral, which is very small here, if you are careful you can see, and this is called as the foramina spinosum. It is called as foramina spinosum. Both these foramina, they are in the greater wing of the sphenoid. So this in midline is a vomer bone, and then this is the big bone, single bone is the sphenoid bone. If you go posterior to this vomer bone, then you can see this color, the violet color, and this part which lies in front of the foramina magnum is the part of the same bone which is in the color violet color bone is same bone, and this is the basilar part of the occipital bone. And just posterior to, say lateral to this basilar part of the occipital bone, this yellow color structure is also the part of this large bone which is seen in yellow color on either side. So this is the paired bone, and this part which is just lateral to this basilar part is called as petrous part of the temporal bone. It is known as petrous part of the temporal bone, which on its surface is showing a opening of a canal, what is called as the carotid canal, lower opening or below inferior opening of the through which the internal carotid artery will enter inside the cranial cavity. Just posterior to this, okay, you are seeing another irregular opening here, and this irregular opening here is called as the jugular foramina. In this diagram you can see this is that elongated jugular foramina, this is the carotid canal, this is the petrous temporal bone, these are through plates, okay, and still lateral in this to this petrous temporal bone, this yellow color which is temporal bone will show you a depression here or fossa. This is called as mandibular fossa, anterior to which is a raised area, that is the tubercle, mandibular tubercle or temporal fossa. In front of the temporal fossa is there, okay, and then you can see there is an opening here seen here on either side here, and this opening here as well as here and here. This opening is the opening of the external acoustic meatus, which we have seen in the lateral view, and then posterior to this, this is the mastoid process of temporal bone. So the temporal bone has many parts that I will teach you, and I will teach you the temporal bone separately. Then we come to the structures which are posterior to this second line, that is anterior margin of foramina magnum. Most of it is formed by the occipital bone on either side of foramina magnum. These are the two condyles and they are called as the occipital condyle, which are articular in nature and they articulate with the superior surface of the atlas vertebra, okay, to form the atlanto-occipital joint, okay, atlanto-occipital joint. This is the large foramina, the foramina magnum is here, okay, and then this is the posterior margin of foramina magnum, and beyond that whatsoever bone is there, this is the squamous part of the occipital bone. Thus you will see that surrounding to the foramina magnum there are three parts. So he may ask you, what are the three different parts of the foramina magnum? You can say, not foramina, of the occipital bone. What are the different parts of the occipital bone? You can say that in front of the foramina magnum, it is the basilar part which anteriorly articulate with the sphenoid, body of the sphenoid, to form basi-sphenoid portion, and then on the lateral side of foramina magnum there are two occipital condyles, hence it is called as the condylar part of the occipital bone, and posterior to foramina magnum it is a flat bone, I mean to say thin flat membranous bone, and this is called as the squamous part of the occipital bone. It is squamous. Now the yellow color thing, that is of the parietal bone, I mean say the parietal as well as the temporal bone portion is also seen here, and as I said that more laterally this is the mastoid process is here, which is also the part of the temporal bone. Posterior to this is the lowermost angle and posterior angle of the parietal bone. It is the parietal bone. So many bones they form this structure. Now this part which lies below that of the greater wing of the sphenoid and then lateral to that of the lateral pterygoid plate, this space is called as the infratemporal fossa. This is known as infratemporal fossa. Now then the next question will come, what are the different foraminas and fissures which are seen in this surface? I told you that there will be many foramina fissure which are seen here. You can see a fissure is seen here between that of the maxillary bone and the greater wing of the sphenoid here. This is the inferior orbital fissure which opens in the orbit, okay, inferior orbital fissure. Then this foramina which is at the apex of the petrous temporal bone, bounded posteriorly anteriorly by the greater medial and lateral pterygoid plate. This is the carotid foramina lacerum. It is the foramina lacerum. This I have already told you, the lower or the inferior opening of the carotid canal. These two foraminas were jugular foramina. This foramina here is the foramina ovale, and then foramina spinosum is here, okay, foramina spinosum is here. Then there is a foramina seen here behind that of the occipital condyle. This is the posterior condylar canal, opening of the posterior condylar canal. This many foraminas are visible, including these foraminas which I have told you, greater and lesser palatine foramina. I hope that this was little longer and difficult, so that once again you revise this so that you can understand it. Okay, once again I thank to the Walters Kluwer, and I also thank you people for watching this video. Thank you very much.